Good afternoon, and excited to be in front of you and excited to talk about last week's performance. Questions?
How important was it, just from a confidence standpoint, for the team to hold them to a field goal at the end of the game after the week before they'd given up the touchdown? This time they hold them to a field goal, and then not only get the job done defensively, but also win the game.
I think the most encouraging aspect of Saturday's games was our second half, especially probably the first 4 or 5 series of the second half. Mark Murphy had a great pick. We had three straight 3-and-outs, including one after a fake punt. So the confidence those guys gained. We had played 6 pretty good quarters prior to that point, the first 2 games, and played pretty good in the first half. So for us to be able to come out against a very, very quality opponent and be able to start that fast in the third quarter, I think that gave us momentum for the rest of the second half.
As Coach Will Wilson does as well. When I think it was like a second down, game's tied, Missouri's driving, you guys call timeout. What was the message to the guys at that point?
I think the biggest thing we were able to communicate on the sideline throughout the second half of trying to talk about what we were going to do and really just lay the groundwork of what was going to happen. And we had got on our heels a little bit on that last drive, and again, Coach Wilson could see it, and we could see it from the sidelines. So just to be able to gather the guys together, there was times out there that we had a couple of guys that were third-teamers at the time, playing a lot of guys. We're always going to play a lot of snaps. We anticipate that. We understand that. And I think this is the first time I've ever been associated with a travel team that played all but one player that we took. So just to be able to get them on the side and be able to talk to them and kind of regather them was a great utilization of our time out there by Coach.
What allowed the defensive line to be so much more disruptive? Did they use their hands better, just get out the snap better? What did that?
I think confidence. I was very encouraged by Darius Latham. Darius Latham, first snap of the game, has a 2-yard loss. And we were very aware of two very good running backs, and for us to be able to do a great job up front controlling the line of scrimmage, I think certainly helped us be more aggressive in all areas of the game.
What do you think Darius is? You mentioned Darius. Where do you think he's at right now in his progression?
Well, I think just understanding and trusting the defense. And that's what, and Darius knows it. Nobody in this program's had as big of I won't say turnaround, but as much improvement from spring to fall. And he just keeps getting better. And so we, with him and Bobby and the guys up front, to be able to just continue to compete and have guys pushing each other, I think is the best thing for our defensive line.
When you look at Maryland, they got a dual-threat quarterback. They've got some pretty strong receivers. Just overall, what's the concern with them?
With Maryland, having faced them in the past in the Atlantic Coast Conference, Maryland's very talented. C.J. Brown's, I think he's been there about 8 years. I don't know, but he's been hurt a couple times. I think this is the 6th year. We faced him 3 times. Very talented, 6'3", very fast. Saw him one night run for about 250 yards against a good Clemson defense. So he's a dangerous quarterback as far as a guy with flat out straight line speed, can really run away from people, and has a lot of targets. Stephon Diggs is one of the highest recruited wide receivers in the country. Very talented receiver, number 1, and Deion Long is another one. They really got as good a receiving corps as probably we'll face this year.
Played 113 snaps against Bowling Green, but how can your defense look so drastically different from one week to the next?
Well, I think you look at the first half of Bowling Green, we probably played pretty similar to the first half of Missouri. And so I just think our kids having confidence, they were a little more aggressive. We talked about attacking, and not just pressure-wise attacking, just attacking in all phases. We were much better in the open field. We were much better getting off blocks. And I just think that the mentality that Coach and our assistant coaches preached throughout the week, and our guys bought in. I mean, they bought in, and I would say we probably didn't grade out any better than we did against Bowling Green, but just the relentless pursuit. When we missed a tackle, there was 3 and 4 and 5 guys, white shirts, chasing that ball. So just the ability for our guys to have confidence in each other and really pursue and chase the football. And that's just kind of a mindset we've tried to ingrain in them.
Is there something where, now that they've experienced that, maybe a light bulb goes on that says, hey, I see how we can play?
Well, we have Sundays we practice, and so yesterday we tried to reinforce what they're doing well and showed the specific reps of this should have been a big play, but because of the guys from all over the field, taking great angles, pursuing the ball, we were able to limit big plays and it sometimes make tackle for losses. So just trying to reinforce that every day. And we practice hard. We go hard here, and just continuing. Tuesday will be a physical day just to be able to continue that. We're going to tackle tomorrow. Typically, a lot of teams don't tackle during the week, but that's a skill area we need to continue to improve on.
You talked about in the second half. I don't think you guys gave up a play over 30 yards. In the first half, they had a couple of explosion plays. One time, you guys brought the house from the left side. They happened to call a sweep to the other side.
Right.
That's for 68. It's a risk reward kind of thing. But did you guys feel comfortable attacking that way? And then in the second half, you can always guys learn how to rotate safeties and how to cover. Even when you're blitzing from one side, you can still cover the other side. Did you guys learn a little bit about that Saturday?
Well, I think the biggest thing we saw with our guys was just an ability. We saw formations, Missouri gave us some challenges as far as that our kids have not seen and even practiced. Our offense gives us everything we can imagine, but situations and guys like Mark Murphy out there were able to make checks. Antonio Allen, guys knew their role. Kyle Kennedy hasn't played a lot for us, made a big hit on the goal line on a pressure. So just guys being able to step up, understand what we're trying to ask them in practice and getting more familiar with it and really making some good decisions out there. I think that's what we were most excited about.
A lot of chatter yesterday that Indiana wasn't using 3-4, that there was a 4-man front, and this and that. But really, you and Coach today have made it seem like it had little to do with scheme, and more issues suggested with attitude and aggressiveness and relentlessness.
No question. I mean, and again, we had guys grading 75, 80%, not the level we need to grade out at, but just from an effort and pursuit, the guys really bought in, and I think really felt confident in what they were doing, and like we talked about, just being able to attack, and I think that was the biggest mindset for our success. It wasn't a scheme or it wasn't a particular defensive call. I think it was just our players, had it in their minds that they were going to go out and attack the football and chase the football down, and did a nice job, obviously.
Coach Tigre is the co-freshman of the week in the Big Ten. Just talk about the way he's playing for you.
Well, he's a guy that we give out a money man award. Okay, money downs. We've been pretty good on third down this year. It's one of the areas we really have tried to stress and focus. And our money player of the game was Tigre, and so he's wearing around that gold chain, and we passed it around from player to player. But for a guy to be able to respond, he had a tough penalty there on the second to last play of the game, where we talked about wanting to be physical on the quarterback, and take our shots, but obviously make them clean shots. And he really hit Matt Mock and was penalized and came right back the next play. And for a freshman to make that kind of play in the open field on that kind of stage is pretty impressive.
How advanced would you say he is for a freshman, or what are some of the things that have made him been able to have an impact?
I think instinctively it comes from a great program down in Cincinnati. Coleraine High School is an outstanding program, very similar to us defensively. So he's got a little bit of an understanding of what we're trying to do. Coach Inge does a great job with him as far as his inside linebacker coach, and just his athleticism, I think, gives him the best. The first couple games he made some mistakes out there, but he's starting to minimize those mistakes and I think feel more comfortable, and we expect only bigger things from him.
Measure something like this, but his wrestling background help him in these kind of situations? Obviously you're trying to shed blockers like you're trying to overcome your opponent.
Well, obviously his takedown on that last play of the game, there was he wasn't the receiver number 6 was not going to get out of that, and I think his ability to rush the passer. Sometimes some of our guys maybe can't finish it like Tigre. When Tigre gets his hands on you, you're in trouble.
I didn't ask the question very well, which
I'm sorry.
I tend not to do. But are you comfortable with, you talk about aggression and attitude and mindset. Are you comfortable with risk reward on this team? You're going to give up a play every now and still got to come in.
We are, and I think coach challenged all of us, players, coaches, everybody, to be more aggressive from a standpoint of as a player, being aggressive with your tackling. Don't be afraid to miss a tackle, whether it's your technique. And so certainly I understand that, some of the calls we have may not be the most sound, or not, I shouldn't say sound, but may not be the best. There is some risk involved, and a couple of times that Missouri made us pay a couple times, but I think we certainly, with our 11 tackles for losses, our relentless pressure on the quarterback, making him, we wanted to move him off his spot, make him run around, and I think the rewards certainly outweighed a couple of the obvious risks we had in there.